You can know that until you're blue in the face, but then you have to know how to fabricate. You have to know how to execute, right? How do you execute? How do you make them? There is one particular skill that I think separates a good hand therapist from a great one, and that's somebody who knows how to make custom fitted orthoses, aka splints. So you can become a certified hand therapist, you can work for years and years and years in hand therapy, but how do you become a good therapist to a great therapist? It's in your splinting skills. Now, before you can even make splints, you have to know how to recommend them and when to use it and know when to get rid of it. You have to know which ones to make, right? Do I make a small one? Do I make a medium-sized one? Do I make a big one? Do I make it static? Do I make it static progressive? Do I make it dynamic? What splint do you need? And for what diagnosis, right? For what diagnosis and what phase of an injury do you need these splints? So it comes from understanding principles, it comes from understanding how to use it and all that good stuff, and then it requires knowing how to make it. I'll share with you a story. And the reason why this one skill is so important is because even when people think that they could do it on their own, they might still need your services. Like, if you think about it, manual therapy. People can self-massage, they can buy Theraguns, they can go to a massage therapist, they can sit on a chair, right? And they all think that that's the same, right? They can, look, I have kinesio tape all behind me. They can kinesio tape themselves. Like, I have patients who come in, they're like, oh yeah, I did this myself, and I do this whenever I have it, regardless of whether they're doing it right or not. Who gives an F, right? They can do it on their own. But I have had people make their own splints and have made themselves worse, right? Worse. They have gone and bought things at the drugstore and it didn't fix the problem because they had the wrong splint on, right? I have a patient who came in with a mallet finger. He had a mallet finger. He injured like a freak accident. And he came in with a splint that first of all, he went to the ER or the urgent care and they put an aluminum splint on it. You can go to any drugstore and find an aluminum splint, right? So the reason why he goes to the emergency room is because he needed to make sure, was there anything broken, blah, 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 and it wasn't. So he just wanted to go there to get x-rays to double check. He was already on Google looking up. It turns out he came in with a mallet finger. He already knew he had a mallet finger. And then he made his own, because he was a welder, he was a mechanic, so he knew how to build. And so he came in with a certain amount of information already, like, oh, I know I have to keep this immobilized for 6 to 8 weeks, and I've been using this blah blah blah. And he made his own splint out of metal. Very impressive, right? Here's the thing, it didn't work the way he needed it to work, right? He did not have it as straight. Here's a circumferential one, right? This is for the thumb. I think I was trying. He did not have it straight enough. So when he took it out of the splint and it kind of fell, it didn't fall all the way like it was before, but it fell a little bit. And he was like, well, I have this splint on that I made. Like, he was like, this is my splint. Like, I made this. And I was like, this is very impressive. Like, I love this for you. But your straight and my straight are two different straights. And then that was when he was like, oh yeah, okay, like, let me come and do a therapy session with you. And so then I could have made him a splint, and I did make him a splint. I also did some plaster casting because I was like, plaster casting is going to be the thing that's going to help you the most, right? So as therapists, this is a skill you need. This is the one skill you need. You need to know how to splint, right? You need to know how to splint. You need to know when to use plaster casting, how to use plaster casting. So I actually made him a splint. I made him a small splint. He had this big old thing, like the whole finger. And I was like, dude, like, well, you don't need all that. When you fit it yourself, you were actually creating, because he made the middle knuckle so straight that he was actually supporting this one going down a little bit. I was like, you you're actually causing yourself to fall into a deformity. So let me help you fix that. Okay. So I made him a circumferential splint that made him straight like this. So then he could bend his, he can actively bend his PIP so that he wouldn't fall into a hyperextension of the PIP. So I made him a circumferential splint for his finger, and then I was like, save this for later, because what you need is you need to do casting. The casting is really good because it's going to help with the swelling. This would have helped with the swelling too. It just would have helped it. He would just fallen off so fast, right? So the casting, he said, I put it on and within a day or two, his swelling went down dramatically. And then he kept that cast on he was coming in day 6 and it fell off that morning. So then he had to tape it down so it wouldn't fall off. But this is the one skill that I think sets you apart from being just a regular general hand therapist to one that's really great, is knowing when someone needs it, and knowing when you need to get rid of a splint. This goes for trigger fingers, for fractures, for sprains and strains, from surgeries and anything like that, from finger base to wrist base to all the way up to the elbow. There's so many uses. I had a guy who came in who they wanted me to make a Munster splint for him all the way up his arm, and I was like, I could have made it, right? But I knew he didn't need this. And then I also know when someone does need this. It's just your ability to know when someone needs something and when they need to get rid of it is really important. Knowing which one to pick, right? Whether they need a small one, a bigger one, an even bigger one. In what position do you put it? Do you put it in flexion? Do you put it in extension? Your skill to be able to know that, which is really, it comes down to the principles of splinting. You can know that until you're blue in the face, but then you have to know how to fabricate. You have to know how to execute, right? How do you execute? How do you make them? You make it first because you understand those concepts, right? It gives you a boost of confidence, and then you make it because you practice. You practice on different materials, right? Practice on thicker materials, practice on thinner materials. So this is a thicker material. Practice on thinner materials, practice on different types. This happens to be Orfit. I'm a big fan of Orfit. It's a little bit more expensive, but totally worth it. What's similar to Orfit is Aquaplast, which you can do as well. It's a little cheaper and works very similar, not completely exact. You can use thick material. This is Taylor Splint, so I tend to use Taylor Splint, Orfit, and then I use Orfit Cast, which looks like fabric. Let me see if I have. It looks like fabric, but it hardens like a plastic, right? It looks like fabric. It's soft, heat it up, and then it's going to harden like thermoplast because it's got the plastic built in. You just have to try and practice with different materials, and then that way you can get really comfortable with it. Pick one or two materials first. I think Orfit Cast for me was harder to use, so I wouldn't say start with this one. I would say start with this one. A thicker material allows you more time to work with. A thinner material cools down really fast and doesn't give you as much time, and then this one you barely have any time. So this is what I say if you're just starting out. But practice your orthosis fabrication skills. I would say practice on medium-sized splints. Like they have material, but they are kind of like easier, right? A dorsal block, a wrist support. Thumb spicas are a little bit tricky, but yeah, a medium-sized splint can be really helpful, or a hand-based dorsal block, an ulnar gutter. Even though ulnar gutters can be kind of hard to form, like not fully, like it's the trimming that makes ulnar gutters hard. This is kind of like a radial gutter, so it comes into the hand, so anything around the thumb can make it a little difficult. But I would say start with a medium size splint that can be relatively easier, and then you can go into a hand-based splint, and those can also be easier because they're smaller amount of material, but becomes harder because you're having to work around the fingers and the thumb. The last one, I think that are the hardest split. The smaller your splint, the harder it is. Making figure eights, making circumferentials, these blocking splints, they can be really tough. Trigger finger splints can be tough because you're going in between, but those are really good to practice on as well. So I would say practice those and get comfortable with the material. And then once you get a little comfortable with the material, start with those sizes, because I think that can help you become more confident and more comfortable with making splints. And then if you need help, go to a 2-day workshop. Usually you'll find, I call them workshops. I have a 2-day orthosis workshop, but you can find any kind of courses that you can go to that can help you just to get the practice. And I would say go to them twice. Go to them, one time, go to them twice, go to them 3 times. Some people need a little bit more practice than others. I remember taking one particular course like twice because I just needed that practice. I needed that review. So if you've taken it and you don't do that many splits, just take it again. Most courses allow you a reduced rate to take the same course again. So inquire about that, but just get your hands on, get some practice. The class allows you to condense everything to learn in 2 days and get feedback right away, but then practice on your patients. My therapist, I say, I'm making it, but like you can spot the ones that are willing to help you. We have somebody right now who really nice. He doesn't mind. Like he actually enjoys it, I think. And so I'm like, practice on him. He's gonna, if he's willing to stay a few extra minutes, just practice on him, because when you practice on real patients, it allows you to do splints just more naturally than like practicing on a person who doesn't have an injury, or practicing on a person who knows how to stay in that position, right? When you work on a patient, like on a real patient, they don't know the position they need to be in and they have the injury, so you have to know how to place them. So just get some practice in. But I think like splinting skill is still one of the top skills that you need to master. I mean, not even master, that you just need to get good enough to be able to do with your patients. It does not need to be perfect. You just need to be good enough. And I think that that's going to help make you go from being just an okay therapist to being a great therapist. My name is Huang. I teach a 2-day orthosis workshop. I'm trying to teach it every year. I taught it last year, I taught it years ago, and I taught it last year, and I'm teaching it again this year. So if you have an opportunity to come, it's going to be in Miami. I keep my class very small, and then we just spend all of our time practicing. We spend our time practicing making big splints, making medium-sized splints, making small splints, and then I incorporate plaster casting for the fingers in the end, because I think that is really important to know how to do versus always just making like little finger splints, because it's going to help you really at the end of the day just get results for your patients better and faster. And so if you're interested, my links are below. Grab them, come to a course. If you don't come to my course, I don't care, go to someone else's course. It's okay. It's the thing that's going to set you apart from everyone else. So yeah, I hope to see you in one of my courses one day.